Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Vardhan Phadnis, who is the co-founder of Shoptimize, which is a growth platform for D2C and e-commerce brands. Now, if you are a subscriber of ELI, you would know that we have already hosted the other founder of Shoptimized. Uh, uh, Mr. Mangesh Pandit Rao, and this time we are hosting Vardhan to know about the growth story of Shoptimize. Uh, I would request Vardhan to introduce himself to our audience. Hi, Vardhan.
Hi, Priyaranjan. Thank you so much for introducing me and for introducing Shoptimize. I am Vardhan Phadnis. I am a co-founder at Shoptimize. I focus on business development, sales, marketing at Shoptimize, and as Priyaranjan said, we are a D2C e-commerce focused solution. In a line, if I were to describe Shoptimize, I would say that Shoptimize works with D2C brands in order to drive sustainable and predictable growth
Mhm.
for their brand.
Okay. So before we go into the venture, can we have a little understanding about your background as a before entrepreneurship? What all things you tried, and
Sure.
if you can also give us uh, some instances where you found some glimpse of entrepreneurial spirit within you, which triggered you to become an entrepreneur.
Sure. So I am originally from Mumbai,
Mhm.
born and brought up. I did my schooling, did my college. I finished engineering in Mumbai, and then immediately I went to the US for higher studies. I spent some time towards my master's program in the US in industrial engineering and supply chain,
Mhm.
and then soon took up a job in the supply chain management space.
Okay.
And this was specifically supply chain technology, supply chain consulting, and
Mhm.
that's how I spent the first six and a half years of my career.
Mhm.
In fact, that is precisely where I and Mangesh intersected. Mangesh is the co-founder CEO at Shoptimize. So that's when I and Mangesh worked together. We consulted brands such as Bath and Body Works and Victoria's Secret in the US, and
Mhm.
that's the first time when we started talking about a potential entrepreneurial venture at some point in time.
Okay.
So the seed was kind of planted back then itself. But then, of course, each one of us had a different direction, and we went our own way. Eventually, I moved back to India. Mangesh had already moved back to India back then, and
Mhm.
he had set up his first venture in IT services. I moved back. I decided to undertake MBA. I went to the Indian School of Business, finished my MBA program, decided to go back to the corporate world, this time in a finance and strategy role, and spent a couple of years over there. And then, Shoptimize happened. Shoptimize was born, and that's when I decided to join Mangesh and Vivek. Vivek is a co-founder, and he heads technology for
Okay.
Shoptimize. Right? So that's a little bit of background, Priyaranjan, for your reference. Then it's been an amazing journey for the last 9 years. Happy to talk about it more as we move forward in this conversation.
Yeah. Uh, Before we again get started on different aspects, would like to understand the product a little bit. So this is for the uninitiated who are listening to us for the first time. So just
Sure.
tell us a bit about what is the product, what problem it solves for the end customers.
Sure. So the product is called Growth Platform, and I mean, of course, as the term suggests, this is about driving growth.
Mhm.
I'll explain how the product works. So
Yeah.
essentially, the product is like a one-stop shop, one umbrella solution for any D2C brand in order to efficiently and aggressively grow their e-commerce business, the way it works is, firstly, uh, it's one roof for having all your business data
Mm-hmm.
under. So be it your own website, be it your Google ad account, your Facebook ad account, your payment gateway, your logistics partner. So it's like a complete 360-degree roof under which all your data can be parked. And that by itself is a big leap. More often than not, getting all of this data under one roof itself is a challenge. Once we have this data under one roof, decision making becomes simpler because of sheer visibility of numbers, right? But we don't just stop there. We have an AI engine. The AI engine actually runs, crunches numbers, analyzes data, and throws out very relevant business insights. Now, these insights can be around digital marketing and campaigns that we are running for digital marketing. These insights can be about your website and website performance. These insights can be about your e-commerce operations as well. Again, as I said, the intent from our side is to provide like a complete 360-degree solution that focuses on every aspect, right? Many a times brands have in-house teams for digital marketing, for e-commerce operations, for data analytics. Many a times it also happens that understanding graphs, numbers, charts, and then deriving insights from those charts and conclusions from those charts is a challenge by itself, and it's a very human dependent activity as well. And it's quite error prone. It's quite effort intensive. So the AI engine that I referred to essentially looks to solve that problem, right? Last but not the least, Priyaranjan, uh, the tool, the product, furthermore, reads the insight and then exactly tells you what is the recommended action to be executed. Now, all of this essentially drives efficiency and makes the whole process very, very data focused and data centric. And that's the beauty, that's the value that every brand can expect out of it.
Mm. So, in a nutshell, it sounds like a very valuable platform. But let's talk from a very business point of view. Let's say you are approaching a D2C brand. What are your talking points for selling the product, or how do you
Sure,
justify the cost of investment in this product? What is the
sure,
ROI impact, or what is the business
sure.
impact you have seen for your
Sure,
customers?
sure. Yeah, happy to take that one. So I already spoke about the product. So the product, so there are essentially a couple of different ways in which we go to market. One is a direct go-to-market approach with the product itself, and explaining the benefits of the product, and then communicating the value that is associated, and then the brand can just sign up for the product, and it's a pure play uh, SaaS model, software as a service model. So they
Mhm.
can subscribe to the product and they can start hooking up all their data sources and deriving value. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, which has been immensely successful over the last 1 year for us, is something called as the Shoptimize Accelerator Program. And I'll speak a little bit about
Yeah,
this.
sure.
So, so the way this program works is, think of it as a scenario wherein a brand, say an apparel brand,
Mhm.
an apparel brand undertakes all kinds of e-commerce activities, sells on Myntra, Amazon, Flipkart, etc., and pays a certain percentage commission to each
Mm.
of these marketplaces. Right now, similar to that, what we do is we become the Amazon or the Myntra of that brand, but for the D2C e-commerce space. So we essentially, run all their campaigns, be it paid marketing campaigns, be it organic marketing. We deploy ad spends from our own pocket.
Mhm.
We deploy the product, the Shoptimize growth platform product,
Mhm.
in order to run analytics, in order to derive data insights. And all of this put together becomes the accelerator program.
Okay.
In lieu of all of what we do, we charge a simple percentage. Like, say for example, an apparel brand would be paying whatever 25-30% to
Mm.
Myntra. Similar to that, the brand will end up paying something on similar lines to us, but we will become the brand's D2C growth partner, D2C e-commerce partner, right? So that is also a solution in addition to the product that I mentioned earlier, on the basis of which we go to market, and it's been immensely popular over the last 1 year. Several brands across sectors, apparel, jewelry, electronics, appliances, etc., have benefited from this program.
Gotcha. Now, next question that comes to my mind is around the scale of operation. If you
Right,
can share a perspective on how many customers we have onboarded, what is
right,
the number of D2C products we are selling or are being processed through our platform, or any such
right.
perspectives.
Right. So we work with approximately 100 brands in India. Our focus has been India, and that's the market that we cater to. And these 100 brands, as I said earlier, are across multiple sectors: apparel, electronics, appliances, footwear, jewelry, etc. And we are adding approximately 12 to 16 brands every month
Mm.
to the portfolio, and that's essentially how we onboard and drive growth for each of these brands.
Okay. And any perspective on the numbers of number of products we are selling on different platforms
Right,
combined, or
right, right,
growth
right.
metrics?
Yes. So, rather than talking about number of products, and because number of products varies as per the brand, varies as per the sector, the category, and number of products does not necessarily mean equivalent revenue for the brand, right?
Mhm.
What I would rather say is, as Shoptimize overall, we drive approximately $25 million of GMV. GMV is gross merchandise value,
Mhm.
through the entire Shoptimize platform. And that's a metric that you can refer to rather than anything else.
Right, right. Uh, Tell us a bit on the uh, customer acquisition front. How do you go about acquiring uh,
Sure,
customers for your venture, and
sure,
any growth hacks that you have deployed over time that has been successful for you?
sure. So I'll speak about the accelerator program that I already mentioned
Yeah.
earlier. So the way it works is, any brand can apply for this program. It's a
Mm,
program, and we are quite selective about the brand that we admit. We want to make sure that the brand has the right kind of supply chain capability. The brand has the right kind of product portfolio. The
mm,
pricing is right. The product catalog is right. The market fit is right, so on and so forth. So we invite brands to apply for this program through a form on our website.
mhm.
The brand then fills out this form. A team
Okay.
of experts at our end reviews this form, reads this form, processes information.
Mhm.
We have a conversation with the brand as well to understand more about their business and also to explain more about our solution.
Mhm.
And essentially that's how the customer acquisition process is carried out for us. Typically, we admit around 10% of all brands
Mhm.
that apply for the accelerator program on
Okay.
a monthly basis,
Okay.
and that's the kind of process we follow.
Okay. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges you have seen while building and growing this venture? And you can focus on challenges on the sales, marketing, and business development front.
Sure, sure. Um, I mean, I'll speak about Shoptimize overall.
Yeah.
So challenges, if I were to split this into three buckets, right? There is customers,
Mm,
there is employees,
mm-hmm.
and then there are investors, right?
Yep.
As far as acquiring customers is concerned, I
Mm,
think, of course, the solution that we provided. back in the day is different from what we provide now. So yes, we've had to do pivots. We've had to change our business model.
Mm,
We've had to make changes in the way we define and design our solution, and make sure that it caters to market needs and market requirements. So certainly that has been challenging, because see, the market also adapts, the market also moves forward, and D2C e-commerce as a space, as a category, has gained very good traction, especially in the last 2 3 years.
mhm,
We've taken a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, being one of the early players in this space since 2013.
mm,
And we've made mistakes, we've learned, we've changed our model, we've pivoted, and we've adapted to the market, is what I would say. And of course, that has been a challenging journey. So that's the
mm,
customer front. From an employee standpoint, attracting the right kind of talent is something that every company strives for.
yeah.
And uh, that's again something that we've had our own challenges towards, again, be it on the tech front, be it on the sales, marketing, business development front, be it on the operations front. Yeah,
Mm,
sure. I mean, attracting the right kind of talent, giving them challenging work, making sure that their interests lie with the company's growth, and vice versa, has definitely been a fantastic learning experience. Although sure, there have been challenges. And then on the investor front, on the fundraise front, making
mm,
sure that we make the right pitch to our investors. We've taken the VC path. We
mhm,
have raised capital since inception
mhm,
through venture capital firms. So,
mhm,
communicating again the importance of what we are doing out in the market, communicating the value that we are driving for our customers, and thereby convincing potential investors about the opportunities that exist and the potential that exists.
mhm.
Again, has been quite an amazing experience, but sure, full of challenges. So that's what I would leave it at.
Okay. S- You spoke about pivoting your business model.
Hmm.
So, can you tell us about the biggest pivot that you did? What triggered that pivot? What was the
Sure.
pivot? And what was the impact of the pivot?
Sure. So, back in the day, we started Shoptimize with a focus to enable D2C commerce for brands,
Mm-hmm,
and not so much grow it. What I mean by that, in simple words, is we focused on getting the right kind of e-commerce website set up and configured for the brand.
mm-hmm,
So that was more of enablement. Now,
mm-hmm,
quite soon we realized that only setting up websites is not going to help. And earlier we catered to small and medium scale businesses,
mm-hmm,
and we realized that we probably are early, ahead of our time. And the market is probably not ready for this. I'm
mm-hmm,
talking about a different era, 2013 14, when D2C commerce was very nascent as such.
mm-hmm,
But we realized that just having a website in place is not going to cut it. We need to make sure that this becomes a revenue generating mechanism. A brand looks at uh, any channel, any e-commerce channel, any offline channel as a way of generating revenue, and that's what we need to ensure. So
mm-hmm.
we started focusing on growth of that particular brand, and
Okay.
slowly but surely, in addition to D2C enablement, we got D2C growth in the mix,
Mm-hmm,
right? And I believe that's the biggest pivot that we did. And then we ended up offering a full blown 360-degree solution to brands, right from D2C enablement to D2C growth. And then
mm-hmm,
we eventually offered these as standalone solutions as well. And that's what we do right now. So, for example, the accelerator program that I referred to
mm-hmm,
is only about D2C growth. All of these brands that we admit into our program
mm-hmm,
already have their e-commerce websites set up.
mm-hmm,
Our e-commerce website setup business is now very focused on large brands, large companies that may have complex requirements, right? So that's how our pivots have been over time.
Okay. You also spoke about fundraising, and many of our listeners are very curious to know about the fundraising process. So, can you tell us how did it go for you in terms of how did you pitch to the investor? What is the process involved? What are the things a investor would like to look at to be interested in investing in a venture? And after
Yeah,
investments, what are the things you should keep in mind as a founder to
yeah,
keep the investors happy and keep them inflowing the funds to their venture?
right, right. Okay, so see, I mean, every investor looks for a few things in a particular brand, and I'm sure your listeners have also maybe ended up seeing a Shark Tank at some
Yep.
point in time. So I think India has also matured from that point of view, and we have a lot of educated listeners already. But I'll speak about our personal experience. I think our investors saw a few specific things. They wanted to understand the space, and we were in the e-commerce space, which was definitely growing
Yep.
with every year. And specifically D2C e-commerce in the last 3 years
Mm-hmm.
has been on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly that changed the perception of an investor who might have not believed in D2C e-commerce, say
Mm.
whatever 7 years back, right?
Okay.
So the space is uh, uh, the one thing that an investor would be looking at and did look at in the past. Second was our specific solution and how
Mm-hmm.
we differentiate ourselves versus any competitors that might exist. So
Mm.
on the back of something like a growth platform product, or on the back of something like an accelerator program solution, we
Mm-hmm.
clearly differentiate ourselves. And we believe our solution is very robust in order to drive sustainable and predictable growth for brands. But that's also another thing that an investor would look at, and our investors did look at this. And
Mm.
last but not the least, of course, the entrepreneurs and the leadership and the team that we have in place, and the pedigree and the credentials of this team, and what is the investor's assessment about the entrepreneurs also most certainly plays a very, very big role. So that's what I would say as a response to your question.
Okay. Speaking of team, can you tell us what is the hiring process you follow at your venture? Any specific uh, uh, process or a qualifier or a filter that you apply to know someone is right for your venture?
Right, right. Yeah, Priya Ranjan, we are a fairly young team,
Hmm.
uh, young and energetic.
Hmm.
uh, Average age is more like mid 20s.
Okay.
And it's a completely meritocracy driven culture.
Hmm.
If somebody performs, he or she is recognized.
Hmm.
And that's the kind of culture we promote. For the longest time, we've been a flat organization.
Hmm.
We traditionally never believed in hierarchies.
Hmm.
Of course, with time as the company grew, some changes were made, but philosophically, I would say we've been very, very firm believers of having a flat organization structure. And uh, our hiring is quite centered around this, right? So we believe in flat hierarchies, we believe in complete transparency, we believe in full meritocracy, we believe in empathy towards each other as a part of your work life. So these factors, considering these factors, that's how we kind of weaved our hiring process. So when we interview a candidate, of course, in addition to the uh, hard skills or the tech capabilities that he or she brings to the table, these are some of the ethos that we check for, right? And then we identify if there's a cultural fit. We very firmly believe that if there's a cultural misfit, then however talented the person is, might not be as effective at Shoptimize. Sure, might be very effective somewhere else. But cultural fit becomes a very important factor in the entire scheme of things.
Okay. My final question for you, tell us, so when you are on an entrepreneur, you make a lot of mistakes and you also
Yeah,
learn from it. So
yeah,
and sometimes you can learn from others mistakes also. So can you share some of the big lessons that you have learned throughout your entrepreneurial journey, which our listeners can take away, apply to their ventures, and more importantly,
sure.
they don't have to go through the same hardship of learning it again.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah, I think making mistakes is the very first rule of entrepreneurship. And I firmly believe that yes, you should make mistakes.
Mhm,
If you do not make mistakes, it is not a great learning process. If you make mistakes, you improve, you build something better.
mhm,
And it's, the first rule is, of course, it's okay to make mistakes, and that's something that we promote very actively
mhm.
among our team members, and we encourage them to make mistakes. But of course, it doesn't make sense if you keep repeating the mistake, but it's
Yeah.
okay to make mistakes. And that's what we've believed in, that's how we've learned. um, my suggestion to all your listeners, everybody out there, would be, do not be shy of making mistakes,
Mhm,
because that's how you will experiment. And if you experiment, you will succeed at one experiment out of 10. But
mhm,
it's okay, it's okay, you got to persist. And we have been very firm believers of grit as a quality.
mhm,
And
mhm,
we quite proud of the fact that one of the qualities that we've possessed at Shoptimize is grit. And that's another suggestion that I would have for all your listeners.
mhm,
If you have the right kind of grit, you will not be afraid of going wrong.
mhm.
And you'll keep persisting. You'll get it right at some point in time, but you have to be at it, right?
Okay.
If you cut it off and give it up sooner, the chance of succeeding obviously will reduce.
Okay. So on this note, I think we have come to the end of the session. Thanks for your time, Vardhan, and it was a pleasure to have you on our platform. Thanks, and best wishes for Optimize.
Hey, thank you so much, Priyaranjan, and thank you so much, Entrepreneur Lounge of India. It was a pleasure from my side as well, and I hope this interaction is helpful for all your listeners. All the very best.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Vardhan.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Bye.